I'm going to try to be loud enough not to need this. Shouldn't be difficult. I don't know how to turn it off either. There we go. Nope. Oh. All right, I do tend to fade off once in a while. If I do, you all in the back just start saying, hey, turn it up a little bit, and I'll pick it back up a little bit. A year ago, I became a John Maxwell certified trained teacher. Lynn and Chris is here today. Their mom and wife gave me this great piece of advice when I went to go be certified, because I had to get up and give a speech, and I really wasn't ready to give the speech and stuff. She goes, just remember to picture yourself naked. So just a moment. Well, that just scared the crap out of me. So we don't want to, I don't think she quite had that right. And I know what she meant to say, and I'm not going to do that either. So anyway, thank you all so much for being here. This is our very first event like this, in hopes of many more. I don't know how many of y'all have ever studied leadership as far as to actually get down and study it, to put some time in on it. It has been a passion of mine since 1999 when I first was introduced to Mr. John Maxwell. And so if you've ever studied any of this stuff, you realize no matter how much you know, it's a lot like the Bible. There's so much more to learn that you're not going to get there in a few short days. This last, I don't think it was March, we went on a trip to the Bahamas, and we flew to Florida. And on that trip, you know, you go through what you always go through. You say, okay, I got to get from Skiatook to Tulsa, Tulsa to Florida. Well, so we booked the tickets, went down to the airport, waited around, got on the airplane, got my magazine. I said, man, I'm flying to to Florida. And then it hit me, I'm not flying anywhere. All I am is on the plane. There's a pilot up there that's doing the flying. Okay, all I had to know was how to buy a ticket to the destination I wanted to go. That's all I needed. Well, a lot of us in life, all we've done is just buy a ticket, and we're just letting some other pilot take us wherever they want us to go. And I think there's more to life than that. And as much as I like flying, I mean, I like everything about flying. I'm a nut that way. I like literally standing in line to go through the check place. I like going into the shop. You can ask Stephanie. Just as soon as we get there, it's like, oh, got to go to the bookstore. I mean, that's just who I am. I'm kind of crazy that way. I finally like to, you wait and you're carrying your stuff on, you put your stuff up, you get your seat, and then the first thing that they do, man, they start telling you, buckle your seat belts. My heart starts to pound a little bit, like, man, this is going to be awesome. And they stick us on the runway, they go out, taxi out to that, and then you hear those engines start to roar. And there is nothing like getting sucked back in your seat, because big planes and short runways is a blast. I mean, I just love it. We got Mr. Winkley here who happens to be a pilot. I don't know how he ever comes down. I mean, I would just be like flying all the time if I could actually do that. So I love that. But what I realized on this flight was I only had to know 3 or 4 things. So I went and I researched. If I'm on Southwest Airlines, how much does that pilot need to know? And I'm not going to bore you with all the details, even though I've got them all down here. 190 steps from amen to there it is. From I just boarded the airplane to I just landed the airplane. 190 checks. So that is what leading your life is like. If you're going to lead life intentionally, it takes steps, and it takes a lot more than just jumping on someone else's airplane. So we must be intentional with what we're going to do. If you look in your notes, there's a quote there, I love it. It says, are you living a life of good intentions or an intentional life? And I believe if you're going to live an intentional life, there's certain steps. You're going to have to know your destination. That's where you and the pilot have one thing in common. You both know where you're going, hopefully. So you know your destination. To do that, you need to build a picture of it. If you've been to anything, leadership in your life, you've always heard, you got to have a vision, you got to have a vision. And that's true. And the reason you have to have a vision is people see things in pictures. Okay? If I say dog, not a one of you thought D-O-G. Everyone thought of either their dog or the idiot neighbor's dog next door. Okay? Now, if I say white dog, if I say white small dog with spots, white small dog with spots and long hair, now you got a picture of that. And that is the same thing when you're creating the vision that you want to accomplish, is you got to create that picture. So we must have a vision. To do that, you need to know where you are. If you want to know where you're going, you've got to know where you are. And I want to tell you a little story here. It seems like I'm out a lot at lunch at my job, probably more than Lynn cares for me to be. But I eat a lot at Quick Trip. Quick Trip's awesome. I mean, they got everything you could ever want in life. And in fact, the only reason I eat at Quick Trip, because on that corner there wasn't a Life Church, and I figured Life Church would be having something to eat there, but they're never there. So anyway, so I go into this Quick Trip, and a guy walks in, and he goes, "Where's SkyTube?" Now, I immediately go into help mode. Oh man, a guy needs to know where SkyTube is. I'm from SkyTube, I can show you. Well, at the SkyTube Quick Trip, there's an exit here to the left, and there's one out on the highway. So I said, if you'll just go straight out here to the highway, turn left, you can't help but run into SkyTube. Which is 100% true if you're in the SkyTube Quick Trip. I leave, get in the car, leave to go out the side exit, and there's not one. And it hits me. I just told a guy how to get to a destination, but didn't even know where I was at. So it is vitally important you know where you are. All right? Next thing we want to do in our professional lives and our personal lives, we got to prepare for takeoff. If we're going to do that, there's a certain amount of system checks you need to go through. One of them is focus on your next step. We need to check that. Are we focused on where we're wanting to go? You're going to check your plans by knowing what are those goals. A lot of people want to accomplish something, but all they're looking at is the big picture, but they haven't set up any goals to start accomplishing that. A few years ago, I decided to read 50 books. Actually, 1 year ago. And I ended up reading 52, but I had to break it down into a plan of every day I get up and read 2 chapters. Every day. Don't matter that you're sick. It doesn't matter that, you're just not in the mood that day. Nothing matters except for the goals. And when I accomplished 2 chapters a day, I read 52 books in 1 year. Now that is not very much to some people. To a guy that hadn't read 50 books the rest of his life, that was a lot. Okay? So focus on your next step. Focus on what your goals are. If you got a team around you, and if you don't, you need one. I mean, here I am with my wife. I got my kids. I've got a fantastic team. David and Clay stepped on the team. I mean, we all just feed off each other. A team, hey, go team. I like it. So, your team, hey, anytime, that's awesome. So, if you got to know what the win looks like, though, with your team. We talk about that a lot with our host team at church, that here's what the win looks like. We're always trying to fine-tune that, and we need to know what a win is, or you get to the end and you don't know if you won or lost. So define to your team what a win looks like. At the shop, we have production. You just got to know what your production is there. So, I mean, if you don't know if you won, you don't know if you lost. Make sure everyone is on the right seat. It doesn't make any sense in the world for me to try to figure out all this stuff. I came in this morning, I laid everything down. My son handles that kind of stuff at his job. He shows up and I said, go in there, change anything you want to change. I don't care, I don't do that. But I automatically have him on my team, so I just put him to work. I mean, he's probably glad that he paid to come to a seminar and got put to work. So it's awesome. Internship all over again. So you make sure everyone's on the right seat. Have you all ever heard about the blonde girl in first class? Blonde girl sitting in first class. The stewardess comes up to her and says, "You don't have the right ticket, ma'am. You need you to move back to coach." She says, "I'm blonde, I'm beautiful, and I'm first class, and I'm going to Baltimore." "I'm sorry, but you got a coach ticket. You can't sit in coach. You're going to, coach ticket. You can't sit in first class. You're going to have to go back. I'm blonde, I'm beautiful, and I'm going to Baltimore. I'm not moving." Pilot comes back and says, "We got a problem." They said, "Yes, this lady won't move back to coach." He goes, "Oh, I can take care of that." He bends over, whispering in her ear. She goes, "Oh!" She jumps up and goes back. She goes, "What did you do?" He told her first class didn't go to Baltimore. So after you focus, you might need some help on what you're focusing on. If you're having a little trouble with that, it might be the idea to go get some good advice. And to get good advice, you need to communicate with your air traffic controller. And your air traffic controller is your mentors and your coaches. Everybody in here needs a mentor, and you need to be a mentor. There's not a one of you in here that doesn't know something that somebody else hasn't traveled down those roads before that you can't help. And a lot of you need a coach. I know when I was coaching baseball, I always loved it, and Aaron can tell you, he would, especially once they got throwing curveballs. You know, once you get past fastballs and stuff, it's pretty much just, hey, keep your weight back, swing the bat. But when curveball, all of a sudden, you know, it's and you're like, "Oh, Aaron, keep your weight back and swing the bat." Okay, I mean, that's slight exaggeration, but it's pretty close. And he's not the only one. I'm just using him because he's here. So you say, "Okay, Aaron, what should you be doing?" "I need to keep my weight back." "Okay, well, just try that." Well, it's amazing, as soon as he would say, "Hey, I need to keep my weight back," all of a sudden his weight stayed back a little better. You know, as long as Dad was telling him, it didn't mean as much. But as soon as you said, "What do you need to do?" and he said, "I need to keep my weight back." "Okay, let's try that." Okay, so he keep his weight back, and he hit a little old sissy ball over here to the third baseman on a curveball, you know, and you say, "Okay, where was your thought pattern on that? What were you thinking different?" "I need to go to right field. I need to take a curveball to right field." All of a sudden, boom, he starts hitting good solid hits to right field. The reason for that is he thought of it. And that's what your coach will do for you. He won't sit there and say, "This is how you do everything." He'll just ask you questions. And that's what all of us in here, David, Clay, Terry, me, that's what we love doing. We just love to sit there and ask you questions and get you to come up with the answer. Okay? So after you've done that, you proceed out to the runway. And you're sitting out there on your runway. I'm going to tell you, I've never been the pilot on an actual airplane. Not 100% this is what they're thinking. But I would bet you, sitting out on this runway in Dallas, Texas, with 400 other runways right next to you, you're not saying, "Oh, cool, look at that plane coming in." I mean, I don't want to be with that pilot if that's what you're thinking. Okay? So, focus on your immediate task. Don't sit there and just be distracted by everything else that's going on around you. How do you do that? Listen to your engine. Okay? Now, you don't want to listen to the roar, but you want to listen to your engines. And your engines are positive thoughts, positive people, your prayer meditation time, your music. I got different music for different things, man. When I'm going to get spiritual, there's nobody in the world I'm going to turn on but Andy Christman. Nobody. All right? When I'm going to go lift weights, Andy's not going in my deal. He's awesome, but we're going to turn on some music that I probably shouldn't even be listening to. Okay? I mean, but you surround yourself with it. It gives you the energy to accomplish the task that you're wanting to accomplish. Now, don't listen to the roar, though. I found this out when we were flying out of Hawaii one time. And this was only like the second time I'd ever flown. But I had a pretty good idea what most engines don't sound like. And we get up somewhere around 2,000 to 3,000 feet. We're still in this mode. and I hear, "Durr," and I'm looking out the window, you know, and the first thing I do is find a stewardess. You know, if she's got a little nervous look, I probably ought to have a little nervous look. Well, she's still, you know, dishing out coffee. I'm like, okay, it's probably all right. So I learned there's certain roars and noises you don't want to listen to. You don't want negative people in your life. You need to cut those things out. If you don't cut those things out, they will pull you down. Nobody pulls people up. People have to want to come up. You can give them a hand to get to their feet if you want to, if they want to, but if they don't, they're just going to pull you down. I mean, that's a fact. Okay? So, stay away from negative people and press through your inner fears. Trust in your training. Get you some good books. Learn some things. If you're in a leadership position, you don't have to love leadership teaching, but you better learn leadership teaching. Because people ain't following if you're not influencing. Leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay? The next step we're going to do, we want to create lift. You're out on the runway. Don't do no good just to sit there in a big bus with wings. Okay? You got to get that thing up in the air. And we're going to do that by creating some momentum. Now, momentum builds on itself. Once you get it going, it ain't always easy to get started, but once you get it going, momentum just keeps building and building and building. Now, here's where you're all going to wish that you wouldn't have paid anything for your ticket. Because I'm going to show you just how stupid the guy is that's talking to you right now. I'm probably 18, 19 years old. Me and Stephanie were just married. We're out, we do a little yard work, and I'm getting lazy, which I have a tendency to get. We get all of our tools picked up, and there's a rake sitting there, and I thought, there ain't no sense in bending over to pick that rake up, right? I'll just step on the end of that rake. And you know, it don't move at all until I put a little more weight on it. A little more weight on it, and that rake starts to slowly come up. I'm like, all right. And I'm just easing it. Well, there's a little pivot point there on that rake. That thing hits me right up beside the cheek. Just wham! I'm like, oh crap. You know, and I back off, rake falls back down. And I thought, I'm an athlete, I can do this. I couldn't do it. The only way I was able to do it is to get my hands right here, which means I did it a third time. So, but you can see, once momentum starts, if you're the rake, it can be a pretty powerful thing. If you're the idiot getting hit by the rake, it can be some pretty powerful thing. Anyway, so if you want a refund, tough. So once you start building momentum, you start to accelerate, you start moving. You got to do something in your life to move towards that goal every day with that momentum. I can tell you this, procrastination gets you nowhere. And I know more than anybody. The only thing good about procrastination to me is I'm never late with my procrastination. I finish on time. And the reason is because I'm a procrastinator that loses his mind when he runs late. So, I mean, okay, most people ain't that way. Most procrastinators are just late. Oh, sorry, boss, I know this is 3 days late. Can I have a raise? You know, I mean, that's the way most of us are. So, don't procrastinate. The only thing worse than procrastination, in my opinion, is excuses. And this is, I mean, I hate them. I use them. Irritates the crud out of me. As soon as I hear myself say it, it's like, just shut up. Take responsibility. My goodness, it doesn't matter why it didn't get done. It didn't get done, Grant. Step it up. Okay? And I mean, I know this side of the room is all sitting there saying, yes, you need to step it up. So you will reach, it's in your notes, you will reach your destination faster through failure than through excuses. I love that quote. John Maxwell said that a year ago when I was sitting with him. Awesome. He follows it up with, excuses are for whiners. Who in the world wants to hear a whiner? You know, whine, whine, oh, everything's terrible, look at oh, I can't get it. Who cares? Listen, we all go through things. You know, I mean, Yesterday, I'm sitting at a funeral just thinking, how in the world am I even going to teach tomorrow? I can't get this out of my head. At 10:45 last night, I'm still thinking about it. I sleep for 30 minutes, and at 10:45 last night, I wake up, and until 2 o'clock this morning, that's all I can think about. Everybody goes through something. Suck it up, Buttercup. That's my daughter's favorite saying. I don't care what you're going through. I don't care how bad it hurts. You got about 2 seconds. Suck it up, Buttercup. It's coming. And I love her for that. Okay? Next thing you need to do after you're starting to accelerate, you're probably going to need some help. So you need to start equipping people. Equipped people are informed and they're trained. And when they're informed and trained, they will increase your momentum. Always keep your team in the know. Now for us that just wants to always be on the move, it's really hard for us to slow down and give the information we need to give. We just want you to know it, and we want to move on. I worked at a lumber yard for 23 years. We probably had somewhere around 70, 80 employees over those 23 years. We probably trained 0. Not lying. Okay, here's your training. 2x4s, 8s, 10s, 12s, 14s, 16s. 2x6s, 8s, 10s, 12s, 14s, 16s. We got the treated ones over here, the cedar ones over there, plywood's inside. I got to go back inside. That was our training. You send out a card, go pull this, put it on the truck and deliver it. They pull it, put it on the truck, deliver it. You get a phone call 20 minutes later and says, I didn't order treated. In fact, I ordered 2x6s, not even 2x4s. Awesome. You go out there and you chew this guy's rear out. Whose fault really was that? You didn't have time to train them. You didn't have time to inform them of the right things, but you have the time to go fix your problem? Think about it. We run into that in every area of our life. I don't have time to go to meetings like this. I don't have time to read good books. I don't have time to go to church. I don't have time to whatever, you name it. But you got time to work on your life when it's all falling apart because you didn't take the time. We're geniuses, aren't we? Okay, when you create momentum and people start to help, it creates what they call a compound effect. It's like compounding interest. You know, it starts off slow. It's that whole penny, double a penny tomorrow's 2 cents, then 4 cents, then 8, and then you're a multimillionaire by day number 30. You know, if you can just double your pennies every day. Same thing in your life. One of the best things you can do to get people moving, compliment them in front of others. There's nothing anybody enjoys more than hearing their name. And they will sit there and say, oh, you know how I am. I just hate being recognized. Oh, crap. They don't know how to handle being recognized. They love it. Love it. Okay? And then, like I was talking about a while ago, when you start making excuses and stuff, don't do that. If you're the leader, take the blame, give the credit. I mean, we can correct the problem, but you take the blame when it's wrong, and you give them the credit when they win. All right? Next, let's stay the course. Check your instruments. Keep communication with the tower, which will be your coach and your mentors. When you're staying the course, that seems to be the most boring time. That's when people start letting their stuff go, because basically we're on cruise control or we're on autopilot and things is going pretty good. But you got to make sure that you're making slight adjustments the whole time. I mean, wouldn't it be great if you could just get in your car and that thing just take off from here to Dallas and you don't have to ever touch the wheel? I mean, that would be cool. It doesn't happen. I actually sat down and figured up this the other day, and if you look somewhere between an 1/8 and a 3/32 of an inch, if you're off that much in your first foot and you're going from Tulsa to Dallas, you are Dallas being 255 miles away, you'll be 23 miles off your course by the time you get there. So if you're flying there and you're saying, okay, I'm going to go from Tulsa to Dallas, Fort Worth, and I'm going to land there, and you're off and you don't make any adjustments, just 3/32 of an inch, you get to land in Dallas Love Airport. It's 23 miles away from Dallas-Fort Worth. I mean, you got to make those adjustments, and we've got to make those adjustments as we are trying to, get to our destinations, because you're not going to make a straight shot. It's not going to happen. In your notes it says, a man must be big enough to admit his mistakes, smart enough to profit from them, and strong enough to correct them. It takes a man to correct his mistakes. And that's tough for us leaders, because that means we have to admit we're not perfect. Which means we have to admit that what everybody else already knows is right. And that's tough. I mean, I hate it. Me and Steph probably fought more times in our life over her reminding me how I'm not perfect. Not in a bad way, but I mean, she's like, Grant, that's not right. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. No, Grant, that's not right. My God, it's right. And the next thing you know is, it wasn't right. So, listen to those people God puts around you. There's a reason they're there. Okay? Let your team know that you're preparing to land. How many of y'all love that part? When you're getting so close to your destination, come on and says, if you'll put your tray tables up and your seats back up and put your seat belts on, we'll be landing in approximately 22 minutes. And you're just like, man, in a few minutes, I'm going to be on the ground driving to the beach. This is going to be awesome. Okay? So, let everyone know what's going on. Then you just got to go land that sucker. Let everyone know that you've accomplished the goal. See, same deal. He comes back on. Thank you for traveling Southwest Airlines. We've enjoyed your flight. I hope you enjoyed your flight. We enjoyed having you with us. Okay? That's what you're doing. As a leader, tell people, man, thank you for your help. Thank you for helping us get where we're at. Thank you. Thank you goes a long way. I don't know why, but I guess we're just got a hole in us. It just says, I wish somebody appreciated me. And when someone says thank you, it just means the world to them. So do that. In your notes, before you go back to your notes, create a 24-hour rule. When you get to your destination, you're having a blast, celebrate for 24 hours. Or if you didn't reach your goal and it really bothers you, cry for 24 hours. In 24 hours, it's time to suck it up, buttercup, either direction. Okay? We're either back on to reach the goal this next time, or we're back on to the next goal. We have 24 hours to enjoy it. I know lots of people that say, man, everything's going great. I'm going on vacation. That's what kills the momentum. When momentum's going there, there's plenty of downtime. I mean, you don't live in momentum or you'll die. Okay? I mean, we got plenty of downtime to go. When things is going good, stop it, move on to the next one. Okay? All right. Change is inevitable. Growth is optional. You all chose the right option today. I want you to notice when you're on a flight, it takes a little time to get moving, and it doesn't take a whole lot of time to land. It's usually that longest point is in there where you're just making those slight adjustments when you're getting bored. But the takeoff and the landing are your most dangerous points. That's when, most crashes, usually you ain't like, oh, we're just flying and everything's going wonderful and the plane just falls out of the air. Normally it's on takeoff or landing. So on those points, we got to make sure that we are highly focused and ready to move forward. I like this as if you don't get started, you can't finish. And if you don't finish, there's no need to start. The trip is what takes the longest time. Make sure if you're going to take the trip, you're going the direction you want to go. Thank you very much.